Swami Vishnu Devananda Maharaj Ki Jai. Om Namah Shivaya. Good morning. So this morning the topic is Who am I? The practice of Vedantic inquiry. And we'll do a short study from the book Meditation and Mantras by Swami Vishnu Devananda. In this book he has a chapter about different meditation techniques or different meditation paths. And one of the chapters is on Jnana Yoga meditation. So the practice of who am I, the inquiry, who am I, Vedantic inquiry, is actually the practice of Jnana Yoga. That among the four paths of yoga is the last one that comes in the ladder. All the other yogas, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Raja Yoga, are meant to prepare us for Jnana Yoga, prepare us for knowledge. Prepare the mind, make the mind a fit instrument for self-inquiry. And self-inquiry, or the path of Vedanta, is the only direct path to self-realization and spiritual liberation. Even in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna explains there are two paths. He reduced the four to two. The path of action, that includes all the yoga path, and the path of knowledge, the Jnana Yoga. And he says only Jnana Yoga is the direct means to moksha, to spiritual liberation. So it's a very important yoga to learn about. And Swami Vishnu has a chapter on Jnana Yoga meditation. And he says Jnana Yoga is one of the four main paths of yoga. Jnana means wisdom. So wisdom or knowledge is a path of knowledge, but not intellectual knowledge. Is the knowledge of the self, is it direct knowledge of the self. And here knowledge means to be. To know the self is to be the self. To know who you are is to be who you are, and to remove all the false ideas about who you are. So Jnana Yoga is the intellectual approach to spiritual evolution or realization. So we just said it's not an intellectual knowledge, but our instrument in this path is the intellect. Just like for your Hatha Yoga class, you have to bring your yoga mat and your physical body. And for your meditation class, you have to bring your mind. For Jnana Yoga, you have to bring your intellect. That's the instrument that is being used in this yoga. So, but ultimately the goal is to negate even the intellect. So it's just an instrument, but an important one, the Buddhi. So through inquiry and analysis, the mind is used to examine its own nature. So this is a very unique meditation because normally meditation is a meditation on objects. So there is a meditator. I am the meditator. Then there is an object on which I meditate, like the breath or the mantra or deity. And then there is a process called meditation. So there are three things here. The meditator and the object of meditation and process of meditation, which is really concentration, focusing the mind. But in Jnana Yoga meditation, the meditation is on the subject, is on the I. Who is the one who is meditating? Who is the one who is inquiring? Who is the I? So it's a very different meditation. It's on a very, very subtle thing, the I, which is not the object, is is me. And so really, this is why Swami Sivananda says, inquire, who am I? And constantly contemplate on this question, who am I? It's also not a meditation that you do necessarily on a cushion for half an hour in the morning and half an hour in the evening. It's not that type of meditation. It's a meditation that we should do throughout the day. All throughout the 24 hours of the day, we should be dwelling on the question, who am I? While doing our daily activities. So he says, Jnana Yoga is said to be the most difficult path, not because it is superior to any other path, but because one must be firmly grounded in the other yogic disciplines before attempting Jnana Yoga. So it's the most difficult path because we have to master the other three yogas before one is truly qualified to be initiated into the path of Jnana Yoga. Of course, Swami Sivananda recommends to practice the yoga of synthesis and to have a balanced daily life of a little asana, a little pranayama, a little study of the scriptures, little meditation, chanting. So that's the yoga of synthesis. But on the other hand, to truly be able to fully go in the path of Jnana Yoga, the yogi must master the other three paths because there is a prerequisite for Jnana Yoga. The prerequisite is known as Sadhana Chatushtaya, the four means of liberation. These are four qualifications that the yogi must acquire prior to, in order to be qualified, to be an adhikari, a qualified student of Vedanta. So the Sadhana Chatushtaya, which includes the viveka, the capacity to discern between what's permanent and what's impermanent, vairagya, non-attachment to all that is impermanent, and then comes 6 noble virtues that basically have to do with mind control and purification of the mind. And then finally, the yogi needs to have a mumukshutva, a burning desire for spiritual liberation. So these are the 4 qualifications that makes one an adhikari, a qualified student of Vedanta or Jnana Yoga. And the best way how to attain this adhikara or qualification is to practice the 3 other yogas, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and Raja Yoga. These other yogas makes the heart pure through Karma Yoga, selfless service, and Bhakti Yoga, devotion, and of course it makes the mind one-pointed and focused, and it makes the intellect subtle and sharp and a fit instrument for the path of self-inquiry, because this is a requirement to have an intellect that is very pure and also very subtle, because the topic is very subtle. The topic that we're discussing in Jnana Yoga is very subtle, is the I, the content of the I, and the nature of reality, which we know it is consciousness, but we don't know what it means. Consciousness is a very subtle thing. It's much more difficult than to focus on a breath or mantra or something which is more tangible to the 5 senses. So he says there must be a strong base of selfless service, serving humanity without thought of personal gain, and love of God, or deep yearning to merge with the Absolute. One must also have a strong health. One must also have a strong, healthy body, control of the vital energies and of the mind before it is possible to use the mind as a vehicle to transcend this world of ignorance. Without these preliminary disciplines, there will not be the strength or discernment to stay on this path. It is easy to be confused, tempted, and led astray by the illusion of the world and the workings of the mind. It is the synthesis of all yogas that rounds out the imbalances of life. Without this integration, there is the risk of becoming a dry intellectual from too much book learning. So he explained, now we understand why we daily go to the yoga class to practice asana. It's really to make the body healthy, strong, capable to meditate. The daily pranayama is meant to purify the nadis and make sure that the vital energy, the prana, is pure, is balanced, is flowing harmoniously throughout the nadis to keep the body and the mind healthy and fit for Jnana Yoga. He says it's a very demanding path. And also we must have devotion. We must have bhakti, because otherwise, Swami Vishnu explained, it will become just a dry intellectual pursuit, like any course you take in the university, studying from books and memorizing. But it's not what this path is all about. And so bhakti is required. Even in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says those who are fully going in the path of bhakti yoga and fully surrendered to me, I give them my grace in the form of viveka, the discrimination, which is the prerequisite for jnana yoga. So all these things are required, but the idea is once the yogi acquire the sadhana chatushtaya, the preliminaries for jnana yoga, then the spiritual aspirant will approach a guru, a master of jnana yoga. Because in all yoga paths, a guru is needed, but specifically in jnana yoga. Specifically in jnana yoga, it's absolutely a requirement because the knowledge is imparted by the guru. And so the aspirant will request to become a disciple, and if the guru feels the disciple is ready, he or she will initiate the disciple in the path of jnana yoga. And the path itself is actually consisting of only 3 things. Vajra yoga, 8 limbs, bhakti yoga, 9 modes, jnana yoga, only 3. And what are they? Shravana, listening to the teachings of the scriptures. Manana, reflecting and using our logic, our intellect to not just fully understand, but remove all the doubts in the mind. Because these doubts, we listen, we hear, even if we have faith, still the doubts are there in the mind. So manana is using logic and contemplation to fully understand and remove all the doubts. And then nididhyasana is the final one, which is deep meditation, going into deep meditation and making this knowledge a direct experience. So these are the practices that are known as the jnana yoga sadhana. And we have one more satsang that will dedicate more to the sadhana itself. But just to give you an idea, Swami Vishnu has a chapter here on jnana yoga meditation Vedantic practice. And he says there are various Vedantic methods for realizing the self. All are based on the removal of limiting ideas or upadhis in regard to oneself and the universe. So the jnana yoga sadhana is of course to bring knowledge, but mostly is to remove the wrong knowledge. Because Adi Shankaracharya is saying the knowledge of the self is the only way to happiness. Why people don't know, why people are ignorant about their own nature. That was like his main mission, you can say, to figure out why we're ignorant about. It's so simple. Just know that you are the Atman, and that solves all the problem. Why is this so difficult? And then he brings the idea of the superimposition, which is so fundamental to understanding Vedantic theory and Vedantic practice. The superimposition is that false identification with the upadhis, with the body and the mind. And Adi Shankaracharya explains beautifully this superimposition is based on avidya. Avidya is primordial, has no beginning, but it has an end. It has an end. It is possible to terminate avidya and to attain happiness. And the way to terminate avidya is to really understand the nature of the superimposition, and the remedy for superimposition or adhyasa, adhyarupa, is apavada, negation. So the main Vedantic meditation is negation, neti neti, is to ask, am I the body? And to really inquire, to really go through an inquiry. Is it possible that the body is the Atman? You just use the logic. Is it possible that the body is the Atman? With the understanding that the Upanishads are saying clearly that the Atman is the ultimate subject, is never an object, that the Atman is unchanging, never changes, that the Atman is eternal, has no beginning, no end, is beyond time, that it's experienced in all the three periods of time. All the things we receive in the Shravana, in the listening, and with faith, with Shraddha, with faith, we accept. So now we know what the Upanishads are saying about the Atman. Is it possible that the body is the Atman? And so we'll do, next time, we'll go through the exercise itself, the intellectual inquiry, and not just the body, because as those who just finished DTC, you know very well, we don't have one body, we have three. And these three are consisting of 5 koshas, 5 layers. And why we call them koshas? Why we call them a cover? Because they cover the Atman, because we identify with them. So this inquiry, am I the physical body? Am I the food sheet? Am I the vital sheet? Am I the mental sheet? Is it possible that the Atman is any of these sheets? The reason why we have to do it is because we identify with them falsely. So it's a very, very beautiful meditation, neti neti. And there are more Vedantic meditations after we finish the neti neti, and we'll do it next time. Om Tat Sat.